With whom have the Prime Minister and Health Secretary been in contact? Were other Downing Street figures infected too? Just last night, as he apparently awaited test results, the PM was outside clapping NHS staff, but with a policeman possibly just behind the Downing Street front door.
The answer to that is as soon as we possibly can.
And what about the rest of Westminster? Say, the MPs at PMQs with the Prime Minister just 48 hours ago. For a taste of why that might be a problem, just look at this clip from Wednesday. How little social distancing there is between the PM and MPs gathered at the Speaker's chair. And how could those at the very centre of combating this disease fall so quickly? The government, political understudies at the ready, said that this showed that they were only human after all.
The fact that both the Prime Minister and the Health Secretary have contracted the virus is a reminder that the virus does not discriminate. We are all at risk, and that is why it is so important that we practice social distancing measures.
But for others, the point was that this advice was given too late and not practiced quickly enough by those who preached it.
I think it was a concern, and I expressed this at the time, that the budget on March the 11th had the entire Parliament crammed cheek by jowl together. And I think looking back, that was a big mistake. So I'm fearful that quite a lot of the contacts of the Prime Minister will, and of course his colleagues, may well be going down with the infection at some stage. They haven't put social distancing in place, and the fact that Nadine Dorries had it and continued all her activities until she had symptoms was a concern. So I think they have, as a group, parliamentarians have been at much higher risk than many other people.
Questions too about how Whitehall responds. Should the PM become incapacitated, Dominic Raab, the Foreign Secretary, will take over. But if this Westminster outbreak becomes more concentrated, that Whitehall itself becomes a major epicentre of the disease, there could be profound administrative problems for the government machine.
I think the question comes, what if people have more serious symptoms? And then you need to know, I think, very clearly what's the fallback plan, and if what's the fallback plan to the fallback plan, if you like. How deep is the level of capacity we have, both at political and official level, to keep the show on the road if a large number of key players do, in fact, find that they've got coronavirus.
But these questions don't just pertain to what Whitehall has done in the past, but what it's doing now. The PM and Chris Whitty did their daily press conference with Sir Patrick Vallance, the government's chief scientific advisor, just 2 days ago. The PM and Whitty are now in isolation. Sir Patrick is not. Vallance took to Twitter today to say that because he has no symptoms, there was no need to be tested. But that wouldn't be the case everywhere. Had he been in South Korea or Germany, it's likely that extensive contact tracing would have taken place. He and all the other people with whom the Prime Minister had had close contact would have been tested. My understanding, for example, is that the Cabinet Secretary, Sir Mark Sedwill, Britain's top civil servant and official, hasn't been tested either because he's asymptomatic. But of course, all of these people could have the disease and be infecting others in Whitehall. In other words, it's possible that this outbreak, at the very heart of British government, could yet come to epitomise and illustrate some of the wider inadequacies in Britain's overall approach. COVID-19 will have to be fought off in Downing Street. But the real theatre of this war isn't in this street, it's in all of ours. To defeat it, Boris Johnson has to keep us enlisted, for us to believe that the changes to our behaviour are worth it. If it looks like it's not working, even at the heart of government, or that politicians aren't practising what they instruct, that war will take much longer and be much bloodier than it should.